do you have
Along
other
with
things?
everyone wants, how do I get more for Sterling Shepard as well, and how do I get as much for whatever. He's being used in a very good way. So we got, again, a lot of guys. We've got more depth at receiver than people realized and wanted to say, and we're going to continue to deploy 3 and 4 of them out there and go through the progressions like we always do. And there's only, when you score 63 and people are complaining about how come this guy doesn't get more, that's pretty good. Now we're getting back to where we're used to. But, so Mark's a really good player, and we're going to keep trying to give him his opportunities. But
He's taking the spot of usually a smaller, quicker receiver. Does
Well,
that take away some of your tempo if you have him in there a lot?
Well, again, Mark is a bigger target, but isn't as, in some ways, fast and shifty as some of the other guys. And depending on what route concepts Coach Riley wants to deploy, then he'll have his opportunities here and there as we go.
Has it been tough on Shannon to start and then comes back and not a starter?
I'm sure it has been. Frank has been nothing but positive though, and was really excited for him to be when he went in there and play so well and to to have that opportunity. It's just hard to, when things are going in a really cohesive way and you're playing pretty well, to disrupt it. But so we'll see as we go forward. But Frank's been he's been a great teammate, and he's been ready to play, and he really played well when he had his chance here this weekend.
How good is it that we're talking about your secondary? You not only have to see some depth, but guys seem to be versatile. I mean, Stephen Parker played a little corner for you. You can play near the line of scrimmage and on the back end. Will Johnson played a couple positions for you. I mean, it seems like you've got some versatile guys that can.
We do. Will is is recruited here as a corner and can play corner. But also has really done well in that nickel position. Stephen can play anywhere up close, deep, and does it well. And he was the natural guy. We ran out of, all the corners were hurt, and Stephen was could go out there and play at corner. He has that kind of speed and agility. But, and like you said, we've got a few other guys, that can play in a few other spots. So we got some, when you got guys that can do that, it gives you a little more depth.
Is it more of a physical thing or mental to be able to kind of go back and forth and do those things?
Well, when you're going to corner to safety, that physical comes into play more than anything, and then but playing inside requires a lot of the inside safeties and nickel position. That there's a lot of mental that goes with the physical.
Why did you decide to let Joe Mixon on your show?
My operations guy asked who always asked me after the game, who should we have on the show, and he said, how about Samaje had a huge day? I said, well, so did Joe. I said, why don't we have them both on the show? And I'm asked a lot about how Joe interacts with his teammates and how exuberant he is, and I thought that's a great example to see how the two guys get along, Samaje and Joe, having them on together at the same time. So we thought it'd be a good idea that people get a chance to see how they interact.
Are we going to get to talk to him anytime soon?
No, probably not. We're not ready for that yet.
Did he enjoy that opportunity to get in front of the camera and to actually speak publicly?
I don't know how much he looked at it that way, as much as being on the coach's show and being able to be on there with Samaje, and they could talk about the game and how they interact with each other. So.
What do you think about his evolution? It seems like he just every week does improve.
Yeah, Joe is getting, I believe, as he put it, the game is slowing down for him. He's seeing things better. I think he's, with backs a lot too, it's about timing and allowing blocks to happen, and I think he's seeing that more now, slowing down almost a little bit to allow the space to open up and getting a better feel for it, So I think he'll continue to improve that way.
ball security was an issue again on Saturday with Jarvis Baxter's fumbling. It's been an issue all season. What have you done to combat that going forward?
Well, we do our drills and strip drills. We encourage the scout team to constantly try and strip the ball from guys, and you know, the guys just have to have a better awareness. The players do, of when the plays you've had enough on this play. You know, Jarvis got to know he's in a dangerous position as the guy's coming around to tackle him. Put two hands on the ball, and I've gained 30 yards. Go down. You know, enough's enough, and rather than put the ball in jeopardy. You know, so we do all the drills and do all the stripping we can, but in the end, they've got to have the awareness to protect the football, and we've got to do a better job of it.
Bob, I know it's pretty rare for a true freshman to start on the offensive line at this level. What has made Drew different and able to handle that responsibility?
You know, he's also a really mature freshman in how he handles everything. He came in physically ready to play, which doesn't usually happen. So he's done a great job of building his strength and agility and all, you know, as a young person in the summer and really all of last year. And I know he had a lot of help there from his uncle, who really worked with him diligently. And then he's bright. He's able to pick everything up. He understands, and you know, and he's talented. You know, he just has the feet and the balance and all to be able to do it, to go with the physical strength to do it.
There was between.
Are those some of the hardest positions for true freshmen to come in and play right away?
Yeah, I think anywhere up front is the hard. You know, maybe the hardest for sure. O-line and D-line.
What's the difference between Orlando Brown before the season and Orlando Brown now?
Well, again, like all those guys, the more experience, he's improving, and his technique's improving. He's always emotional and excited, you know, an excitable guy. But I think he's just overall execution in his you know, and you know, just in his fundamentals are getting better the more he plays.
You mentioned Houghton on special teams, that he got a game ball. He also, if I'm not mistaken, came in as a 6 DB. How was Houghton and the other two freshmen doing?
All those guys are doing really well, the young freshman DBs. And Khalil played some last week just because of you know, his ability to cover people and his athleticism. And you know, he went in there and did a really good job. So. But all those guys are, you know, like I said earlier in the year, we love them. They're all going to be really good players.
Have you had a chance to see a good deal of Sunderland, the kid from Midwest?
Yeah. Will's right there with those guys and is playing well and been very conscientious to continue to learn, and very talented person.
The job that your DBs have done against a big play has been really, really good since Tulsa. Is that just better awareness, or are you and Mike doing things to help?
I've addressed that the last 2 weeks, and some of it also is personnel, remember?
Is that Stephen Parker being allowed to play deeper with Will moving into the nickel?
It's all of it. You know, it's also personnel, you know, at corner.
When Dakota came in, did you guys change anything, or basically say you're Sanchez and doing your job and been changing, you know, shifting thing over to him?
No.
How's Jordan Thomas playing?
Really good. He's had another excellent game and played really well, covered well. Was good.
Bob, I mean, Matt Diamond has been one of your better performers on the defensive line. I'm curious, did you know that he was ready to go, ready to play well from the beginning of fall camp after kind of going through some of his own stuff back in the spring?
Yes. You know, I felt confident once Matt regained his strength and size that he would play well, because he was, you know, he played well as a freshman, you know, so, you know, and I've seen him play enough that once he got his strength and size back, that he would, you know, do what he's doing now and be a really good player for us.
Just his skill set, does he, I know you hate comparisons, but I mean, does he remind you of anybody? I know Dusty liked to say it reminds him of him because
he's similar to Dusty. Dusty was a little bigger, but very similar and tough, and played with great leverage. and use their hands well. Really good technique. If you watch him, fundamentally really excellent with his technique and leverage and hands, separating from people, very, very conscientious of getting to where he needs to on stunts, So I was confident that once he got his size back that he'd be able to do that.
Bob, what are you looking for in the next 2 weeks? What will you emphasize? Because the fans will be looking to that final 3 games that have been well publicized.
All I'm concerned about is today's practice and how just improving, making sure we're improving every day. And we need to be better, this coming week than we were last week. And, we only do that we'll compete against each other in practice like we have. And, there's some carryover in offense and defensive schemes that we're seeing that we need to, get corrections made and make sure we keep pushing ourselves for more.
Go.
All right.
You've been listening to Head Football Coach Bob.
Thank you, Michael. Welcome, everyone. Going back and recapping the Texas Tech game, I've really felt good about the way we played really in all parts of the game. Offensively, I thought, just in the last couple of weeks we've been able to run the football better, which allows for more play-action passes. And so I was really pleased overall with the way we were able to run and throw. Thought Baker, again, had another excellent day. And then the offensive line and our running backs, Samaje Perine and Joe Mixon, both had huge days. And the players of the game offensively were Samaje Perine, Joe Mixon, the offensive line starters, and Dimitri Flowers also. Dimitri's a big part of that in there, being able to, to block for those guys. And they do a great job blocking for each other. So anyway, excellent execution across the board, and really the same defensively. We had a lot of key turnovers, big turnovers, guys really competing well. I thought our pressure up front was really good. 4 sacks. We had a couple of tips up there that led to interceptions. They had a intentional grounding as well, which is like another sack. So, and the coverage was really good. Even when he did scramble out and make a few plays, there wasn't anywhere to throw the football and forced to pull it down and run around. The players of the game for us on defense were Frank Shannon, Charles Walker, and Dakota Austin. I thought Dakota came in when Zach leaves at the very first play of the game and really competed well, covered well. A lot of open field tackles, had 11 tackles out in space, didn't miss one of them. Comes up with a big interception to end the half, just all around really, really good. I thought, again, everybody, special teams as well, really solid. The one punt we had, Austin hit it 50-some yards. I want to say 57 maybe. And Khalil Houghton had a big day on special teams also. So really, really solid game. Again, when you have a team that's been second in the country in total offense and be able to come up with the turnovers and limit them the way we did was really good. And then offensively, again, just to be able to move the football so efficiently was really positive. And brings us to Kansas this week, going up to Kansas. Our whole motto in the last several weeks is just to continue to improve, and that's what we've got to do this week. We've got to push ourselves this week to be better than we were this past week. I felt like we did that a week ago, and that's what our mission will be as we go all week practicing to lead up to going to Lawrence to play Kansas this week.
What's your injury situation?
Injuries are similar to, they're going to get Devontae and Stan Von Taylor and Jordan Evans out moving around today with hopes, it's just one of those day-to-day, see how if they're able to, if they're able to go. Marcus Green also should be back practicing. Zach Sanchez has a sprained ankle. He won't play this week. We're hopeful, he'll be able to play after that.
Are you more concerned, you seem to put emphasis on pushing yourself to be better than last week because you're playing a team that hadn't won a game, been blown out, concerned about a letdown?
Well, I'm just concerned about us improving, as we go through the year, and that's what we've been able to do that here in the last few weeks. We need to do it again this week. So just want to keep pushing to improve.
Will Dakota start in Zach's place this week?
We'll see, how practice goes, but based on how he performed last week, I would believe so.
Bob, at the beginning of the season, you talked about hoping your depth was improved. Do you feel like now, after that, what happened on Saturday with Dakota stepping up, when you talked about other guys that might have played ahead of him if they weren't injured, that you're getting to that point where your depth's improved?
Yeah, the guys that have stepped in have played well for us, across the board. So, I guess that speaks to depth, and sometimes you really don't know until you're in game situations. But all the guys that we've had have really stepped in pretty well.
Stephen was talking about Ahmad and watching film with him and how he feels like everybody says that he's improved. He said, Ahmad sees how much he's improved from a year ago too. You see a much higher level of play from him as well.
Absolutely. Ahmad has played really well, as Stephen has. They're you could tell they understand now, all the concepts defensively where they need to be, and they understand now. I think as everyone talks about, the more you play, the more the game slows down. They recognize what offenses are doing now quicker and are more prepared to go against it because they're just more familiar, with seeing plays and seeing what they, the more they play, they, with that experience, especially in the safety spots, there's a lot that goes on and in the middle of the defense, and you can only make it so simple. The offenses are motioning, or all the things that they do. You really can't keep it simple. It's so they have to. Now they're just much wiser at recognizing everything.
Coach, talk about the improved secondary play and what Kerry Cooks has been able to help groom those guys to be.
Yeah, Kerry's done a great job. He's a great teacher and communicator, and again, he's done a really good job with them. And again, I also realize, as I've just got done saying, experience helps that as well. Time on the field always, it helps guys as long as they have talent, and these guys have talent.
What do you attribute the improvement to the offensive line to?
Same thing, just continued time on the field, working together. And Coach Biedenbow also does a great job working with his guys. And the more, the practice time, they're improving. And again, their communication and playing together, I think, is also, part of it, the experience out there together.
How noticeable is the change on film with those guys? Because, saw some huge holes for Samaje on Saturday, but it seems like since you put Drew and Jonathan in there, it's been a pretty steady growth.
Yeah, so far it's gone pretty well. Their execution has been really good, but they're young guys, and we believe there's a lot more there. So we just got to keep pushing for it.
I know it's a collective effort, run blocking, but how big has Dimitri been, and does it help that he has guys to look at, Ripkowski and Trey Miller to learn from?
Yes, Dimitri's a key component to running the ball, as is Joe and Samaje when they're back there together. They do it. They're both have gotten to be really good, pretty good blocking as well. So, but Dimitri's a big part of that, and we've had excellent play from that position with Trey Millard and Aaron Ripkowski, in the past, and. Aaron was back this week, and so maybe that inspired Dimitri a little bit.
How fun was it to see the running game get going like it did on Saturday?
It's always great, and it's always good for you when you're running the football well, and it always opens up play action pass as well. So it was positive for sure.
You used Sam Grant on a couple of plays on the edge too, so you're expanding more personnel. How much does that help because you have big guys that have played?
Yeah, Sam's a big physical tight end for us, and getting him in some of those short yardage and goal line plays has helped. And Sam is he's done a good job when he's been in there being physical.
Bob, you mentioned the improvement. How hard is it to get a team to buy in that this has to be an increment going throughout the year, just getting better?
Oh, I don't. I don't know how hard it is. I mean, it's what you need, what needs to happen, and if you're, hopefully your guys are listening, to you and keep pushing yourself that way.
Samaje had one of the all-time great games against these guys last year. Are there any specific things you remember about that day and him getting the record?
Yeah, I remember blocking really well, and I remember him running really well. So making people miss him and running through some things, but it's a team effort. All those guys really did a great job with them blocking as well.
He said the record was more important to his teammates than it was to him. Do you get that kind of sense?
That's his personality for sure, and he realizes he can't do it alone. It's receivers blocking downfield to help spring big plays, and of course getting through the line, offensive line blocking helps you get started. You have to have something to start with, and I know everybody was really excited for him, because they look at it as a team, as a team award, really, when you do it that way.
How much does the up-tempo help the running game? Because I think we think passing game has helped with the up-tempo. How much does that affect your running?
It helps. It's been positive for us, and it has helped the running game some.
Samaje's only a sophomore, but how big of a role model has he been for Joe?
I think he's been a strong role model for all of our guys on our team. Samaje handles his business in every part, his academic work to every part of his life in a really mature, positive way, and he's everything you want from a student athlete.
Bob, you mentioned next man up. P.L. Lindley's kind of been that guy the last couple of weeks.
I don't recall saying next man up, but I can say I did. But
what does he bring to the table?
PL's been awesome. I said it kind of after, the game. He's kind of one of our most valuable players because he can play so many spots. Last week, with Jordan being injured, we even repped him inside at the inside linebacker position. And then, of course, he's played the outside backer position really well in the last few weeks. And then, if we needed him to, he could go in there and play a 4 technique, I'll promise you. So he can do about anything. And very smart player, understands it, gets it, and plays always with great leverage and strength and tackles well. So he was really good again last week.
Fans look at Mark Andrews and his kind of catch-to-touchdown production and ask, why don't we see more of him? Can you address just kind of how you're playing him, how, what he brings to the offense, and maybe